In the early years of the 20th century, when villages were still ruled by superstition and the veil between faith and fear was thin, there lived a man named Ivan. He was not wealthy nor powerful, but he had what most men in his village envied: a wife he adored and a child soon to be born. Anna was gentle and beautiful, and when she carried their first child, the neighbors said the glow of life itself surrounded her. Ivan would walk proudly beside her, dreaming aloud of the orchard he would plant, of the crib he would carve, of the laughter that would one day fill their home. But happiness, when it shines too brightly, often casts the darkest shadow. One bitter autumn night, Anna went into labor far too early. The midwife was called, villagers crowded the doorway, and Ivan clutched at prayer like a drowning man grasps a branch. Hours of torment passed. Then the house fell silent. The midwife stepped out, her face as pale as the moonlight that fell across the dirt floor. Anna was gone, the child as well. Ivan's scream broke the night, echoing through the fields, through the woods, through the very marrow of those who heard it. The next day, villagers lowered a wooden coffin into the soil of the cemetery. Ivan did not weep. He stood stiff as stone, his fists clenched, his eyes empty. The final shovelfuls of earth fell, and the grave was sealed. The others left, whispering of his misfortune. But Ivan remained long into the evening, staring at the earth that separated him from his wife and child. That night, grief became something darker. When Ivan closed his eyes, he saw Anna, not as a corpse, but alive, pale, and desperate. She reached for him from a place of suffocating shadows. Her lips moved, whispering words that cut him deeper than any blade. "Ivan, I am not dead. Please dig me out. Save me." He woke in terror, gasping for air. His rational mind told him it was only grief. But the next night, the dream came again, and the night after. Always Anna, always the same plea: dig me out. He went to the priest. The priest shook his head and told him to pray harder, warning that the devil played tricks on the weak-hearted. He went to his neighbors, but they muttered that grief had turned his brain. "She is dead," they told him. "Let her rest. You will bring ruin upon yourself if you disturb her grave." But Ivan could not shake the truth he felt. He knew her voice. He had lain beside her too many nights to doubt it. If there was even a chance she still lived, how could he ignore her? On the third night, unable to resist, he took a lantern and a shovel and walked to the cemetery. The moon hid behind clouds, the trees swayed like mourners, and the iron gate screeched as he pushed it open. He reached Anna's grave, dropped to his knees, and dug. Dirt flew, sweat poured, and his hands bled. He dug as if the devil himself drove him. But before he could reach the coffin, men of the village appeared. They pulled him away, shouting that he had gone mad. He screamed and fought, cursing them, spitting blood and dirt. They held him down until his strength gave out. The next day he tried again. Again they dragged him away. By the third attempt, even his relatives locked him inside his own home to keep him from desecrating the grave. But Ivan was not a man who could be caged by locks or reason. In the dead of night he slipped away once more, shovel in hand. Hours later, screams awoke the village. By lantern light, the people rushed to the cemetery. There they found Ivan, wild-eyed and filthy, kneeling beside the opened coffin. His screams echoed like a man who had seen hell, for when he pried open the wooden lid, he did not find Anna's peaceful body. He found claw marks carved into the wood. He found her nails broken and bloodied. He found her twisted in death's final struggle. And beside her, between her lifeless arms, lay the body of a stillborn child. Anna had given birth in the coffin. She had been buried alive. Ivan's howl shattered the silence of the cemetery. He clutched the corpse of his wife and child, rocking them as if to comfort the dead. Villagers tried to pull him away, but he cursed them, cursed their names, cursed their children. He screamed that their stubbornness had killed her, that if they had let him dig, he would have saved her. His eyes burned with hatred, and in that moment, grief became something more terrible than death. It became vengeance. The following day, Ivan disappeared. They found him 3 nights later, hanging from a tree near the cemetery. In his pocket was a torn scrap of paper, scrawled with his trembling hand. The words were nearly illegible, but the priest who read them blanched with horror. "I curse you all. I curse this village. You will not live in peace. I will not let you die in peace. Every year, on the night of her burial, I will rise and I will take what you denied me. I will take you. I will take your children. I will take your children's children. This I swear." From that year forward, the village was never the same. Each autumn, on the anniversary of Anna's burial, the air grew heavy, the night grew restless. Animals screamed in the dark, doors creaked though no wind blew, and some swore they saw Ivan's shadow wandering the lanes, lantern in one hand, shovel in the other. And then the deaths began. The first to die was the very man who had dragged Ivan from the grave that first night. He was found in his barn, hanging from a beam, though he had never shown despair. The next year, another, always one of those who had held Ivan back, always on the night of Anna's burial. As decades passed, the curse spread to their children, then their grandchildren. Strange accidents, sudden illnesses, mysterious disappearances. The villagers whispered, but never aloud, for fear the ghost would hear. The cemetery grew larger, and the story became a legend told in hushed tones. On the night of her burial, beware the grieving husband. He walks among us still. Time moved on. Wars came and went. Cities rose, roads stretched farther, the world grew modern. But the village remained small, and the legend remained alive. Parents warned their children not to linger near the cemetery in late October. Old women crossed themselves when the wind rattled the shutters at midnight. And then, in the present day, he came. Michael was not a villager. He was a stranger from the city, a man tracing his family history. His grandmother had once lived in the village, though she never spoke of it. When she died, he found an old letter among her things, hinting at a secret past, at sins buried but never forgotten. Curious, he traveled to the village to see for himself. The villagers eyed him with suspicion. Some refused to speak, but an old woman, wrinkled as parchment, pulled him aside. "You should not be here," she whispered. "Your blood is marked. Your great-grandfather was one of them, one who held Ivan back. The curse still haunts your kind." Michael laughed at first. He was a man of reason, not superstition. But that night he stayed in the crumbling inn near the cemetery. And as the clock struck midnight, he dreamed. He saw a man with hollow eyes and a lantern. He saw the flash of a shovel. He saw clawed hands tearing at a coffin lid. And he awoke to the sound of footsteps in the hall. The inn was silent. No guests, no keeper. Yet the footsteps creaked closer. He opened his door, nothing. Only the flicker of a lantern in the distance, moving toward the cemetery. Against every instinct, Michael followed. The cemetery was drowned in mist. At Anna's grave stood the figure of a man, his neck bent at an unnatural angle, a rope still dangling from his throat. His eyes glowed with hatred. "Ivan," Michael whispered before he could stop himself. The ghost turned. "You carry their blood," the voice rasped, "and so you carry their guilt." Michael stumbled back, heart hammering. "I wasn't there. I wasn't." "You are them," the ghost said, "and tonight you join her." The earth trembled. Graves shifted. From the soil came a sound of scratching, of nails against wood. Dozens of hands clawed through the dirt, the dead rising, their faces twisted with silent screams. Michael ran, but the cemetery stretched like a labyrinth, each turn leading him back to the hanging figure. Desperate, he ducked into the chapel at the cemetery's edge. The rotting door slammed shut behind him. There, in the dust, he found a relic, a brittle scrap of paper, preserved beneath the altar, the very words of Ivan's curse written in his own trembling hand. Michael's eyes widened. Perhaps, if the curse began with words, it could end with words. The chapel windows shattered as the ghost approached. The lantern's light burned brighter, shadows twisting like serpents. Michael, trembling, struck a match and set the paper alight. Flames devoured the cursed words. The ghost screamed, a howl that shook the rafters, that split the air like thunder. The shadows writhed and dissolved. The graves fell silent. The lantern shattered, its flame extinguished. And then, silence. Michael fell to his knees, gasping, his heart ready to burst. The curse was broken, or so he thought. When he stepped outside, dawn was breaking. The cemetery was still. The village lay quiet. For the first time in a century, perhaps there was peace. He walked away, shaken but alive. But behind him, in the fog that lingered over Anna's grave, a faint glow flickered, the light of a lantern, the sound of footsteps. The grieving husband had not vanished. He had only retreated, waiting for the next name, the next bloodline, the next midnight. And somewhere deep inside, Michael knew, curses do not die. They only sleep